This video is on cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Before we talk about what these three are, let's quickly review sine, cosine, and tangent. This is how you spell sine. Sine is abbreviated SIN, and sine of an angle is equal to the length of the side that is opposite of that angle divided by the length of the hypotenuse. This symbol right here, this is called a theta, and theta is basically just like an x, but used many times to describe an unknown angle. Cosine is spelled like this. It's abbreviated COS, and cosine of an angle is equal to the length of the side that is adjacent to the angle divided by the length of the hypotenuse. Finally, tangent is spelled like this. It's abbreviated TAN, and tangent of an angle is equal to the length of the side opposite of the angle divided by the length of the side adjacent to the angle. Now let's talk about cosecant, secant, and cotangent. This is how you spell cosecant. It's abbreviated CSC. This is how you spell secant. It's abbreviated SEC. This is how you spell cotangent, and it's abbreviated COT. Now, each one of these is defined relative to the three sine, cosine, and tangent that we just talked about. So, cosecant is defined relative to sine. The relationship between sine and cosecant is that they are reciprocals. The same sort of thing exists for secant, except that secant is defined relative to cosine. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, so a reciprocal is where the fraction is flipped, where the top and the bottom are flipped, or the numerator and denominator are flipped. So, because sine is equal to the length of the side opposite divided by hypotenuse, and these two right here are reciprocals of each other, therefore cosecant of theta is equal to the length of the hypotenuse divided by the length of the side opposite of the angle. So these two are reciprocals, and so their top and their bottom are flipped or reversed relative to each other. The same sort of thing with secant. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Since cosine is side adjacent divided by hypotenuse, secant is therefore hypotenuse divided by the length of the side that is adjacent to theta. And finally, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. And so therefore, cotangent is equal to the side that is adjacent to theta divided by the side that is opposite of theta. So in each one of these cases, this word reciprocal just meant that the two fractions are upside down or flipped relative to each other. All right. Another way you can think of this word here, reciprocal, is that, and once again, the word reciprocal here describes the relationship between sine and cosecant. And so another way you could think of this is that if you had 1 divided by, if you have 1 divided by sine of theta, that would equal your cosecant. This is another way of thinking about this word here, reciprocal. The opposite is also true. If you have 1 divided by cosecant, that would equal your sine. I'm going to quickly prove one of these. Let's prove this one here on the left. So if you had 1 divided by sine, let's take that for 1 second. Let's take 1 divided by sine. I'm going to write that, instead of writing it here as this sort of fraction, I'm going to write it as 1 divided by sine. Instead of writing it as a fraction, I'm just going to write it like that. Okay, so you have 1 divided by sine. And we know that your sine of theta is equal to the side opposite of the angle theta divided by hypotenuse. So since that is equal to sine, I'm just going to replace sine down here with it. So these two lines right here are equal to each other. All I did was replace sine of theta with something that was equal to sine of theta. Okay, and using our fraction rules, dividing a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So dividing by this fraction right here is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. All right, and of course, 1 times this fraction just equals that fraction, since multiplying by 1 doesn't actually change anything. Okay, and let's go back up here. So I was trying to show you how 1 divided by sine was equal to cosecant. So we started off with 1 divided by sine is equal to cosecant, which meant cosecant was equal to this, which meant cosecant was equal to this, which meant cosecant is equal to hypotenuse divided by the side opposite of theta, which is right here. Hypotenuse divided by side opposite of theta is cosecant. So this right here is just me proving that these two are true. But to summarize, cosecant is equal to the reciprocal of sine. So you can, cosecant is equal to what is written here, but just upside down. Along those exact same lines, your 1 divided by cosine is equal to secant, because secant and cosine are reciprocals, and your 1 divided by secant is equal to cosine. Same thing with tangent and cotangent. 1 divided by tangent is equal to your cotangent. 1 divided by cotangent is equal to tangent.